Well, lads, if you've watched the Perfect Valentine's Date and How to Find Love videos, you should know, when it comes to the topic of romance and love, I'm definitely an expert. Finding love, in my opinion, isn't that hard, especially when you let the right people guide you and if your standards are very, very low. But keeping love, now that is a tricky task. If you've managed to find someone you don't completely hate as your partner, congratulations. But if you're now someone who finds themselves up at 3 a.m. manifesting all kinds of insecurity about losing them because you're watching too much social media, don't fret. I'm here for you, mate. I'm going to tell you how to not make a balls of it, lad. Number 1. Don't be a cheating hoe. The funny thing about us humans is, from what I can tell anyway, we have 2 primary decision-making organs. Well, maybe 3, but for the sake of this point, we're going to say 2. One is upstairs and one is downstairs. When we judge the personality of a person of interest, we use our upstairs decision maker to rationally deduce if they would be a good match for us. Usually though, it's the organ downstairs that makes the initial decision on whether or not we get to that assessment at all, because we don't want to be with someone we find too clapped. They're probably clapped, but too clapped doesn't make the cut, lads, does it? The less clapped you are, the more advances and opportunities to meet other potential partners you'll have/get. Entertaining such tomfoolery while in a relationship, even if it's simply, for example, engaging in discussion with someone who slid into your DMs with the clear desire to get in your pants, it's not only problematic, it's also an insult to your partner. If you or your partner does engage in such behaviour or worse, you or they need to take a good look at themselves and ask, am I a hoe? Number 2. Don't be a prick. We're all human, and if you're able to understand this video thus far, you'll know that humans are cheeky little fuckers, mate. Now, we've all had moments where we were a bit of a prick, and we'll have more moments like that in the future, no doubt. But it is in our best interest to avoid being a prick as much as possible to our number 1 person. Remember, when problems arise, it's not you versus your partner, it's you and your partner versus the problem. Keep the fights clean and the bedroom dirty, as they say. Hey. But to be honest, this is something you should intrinsically do and be aware of anyway. If your dumbass wasn't emotionally mature enough to be aware of this, don't forget moving forward, you fucking clown. You're supposed to be best friends after all. Treat each other as such. Number 3. Don't let other people define your relationship. Look, I want to be very clear. I'm not saying you shouldn't listen to trusted friends and family members when it comes to your relationship. Of course you should, especially when problems come up and you might need a second opinion. But don't just let them run the show. Take what they're saying on board and think for yourself. At the end of the day, you're going to know more than them about your partner and the situation. Also, your trusted friends and family members might be unhinged as fuck, or worse. So, even if they have your best interest at heart, they might not be very helpful, mate. Also, watching too much TikTok and other social media isn't going to do you much good because people making content online are usually tapped and miserable as fuck. Not me, of course. I'm emotionally stable. Number 4. Communication is key. We humans overthink a shit ton. When we're on our own especially, we have a habit of playing out problematic scenarios in our head and jumping to conclusions based off it. Whether you're an overthinker or not, providing your partner with the reassurance they need is going to lead to a far better relationship than leaving things to chance. We all go through tough times and get insecure about stuff, so let your partner know you're there for them, and if they could communicate how they would like to be supported, tell them you'll do it without hesitation. You'll also eventually have periods of the day where you won't communicate at all, even if you're in the same room, and that's perfectly normal. You both have to live your individual lives as well. Bottom line, you don't have to be yapping all the time, but it's all about actually giving a shit, lads. Number 5. You will eventually know everything about them, and that's okay. The reality is, the initial honeymoon phase everybody goes through is going to end, and you're going to hit that point where you pretty much know everything about your significant other and their past. Some people might feel like hitting this point is where things turn sour, because without the mystery anymore, things might seem boring, but this is when the real relationship kicks in, if you have the right mindset. Up to this point, discussion about each other's past doesn't typically involve your significant other, so now that everything's out there, it's time to really create memories together. This might include travelling, playing games, starting a new hobby together, and maybe even consuming a concerning amount of ice cream while binge watching Disney movies over your weekends together. Hell yeah! Bottom line, the relationship will only become stale if you let it. Try new things together and grow as a couple. And lastly, number 6, but most importantly, don't be a doormat. If you've done everything you can to keep the love going, but your partner isn't receptive and is just doing the bollocks, it's important you don't be a doormat and take that shit if it's gone beyond repair. Make it very clear that they need to give 100% to your relationship, otherwise it isn't going to last. If the time does come, don't be afraid to walk. Self-respect is very, very important. Let them be a lesson, and to be honest, at this stage, they can just fuck off, lads. To conclude, love is hard to keep, but it is possible if both parties fight for it. I don't have much more to say, so I'll finish by saying this. I hope this advice is helpful, but if you disagree with anything I've said, fair enough, mate. I am single after all.